Hello, dear students. Welcome back to EasEnglish, your English learning program. As usual, this is teacher Rodrigo Lazo Campo with a new lesson. Lesson 117. Lesson 117. In Curso Debutante Level 2. The title of the lesson is Maria's Halloween. Maria's Halloween. In this lesson, as you can see or as you can guess, we're going to be talking about how children in the United States and perhaps in other countries in the world celebrate Halloween. Perhaps you celebrate Halloween. I must tell you that I don't celebrate Halloween, but many people do. Antes de entrar en detalle acerca de cómo algunos celebran Halloween, voy a hacer una breve descripción de cómo se celebran algunas otras fiestas o algunos otros eventos, de tal manera que se pueda comprender más fácilmente el lenguaje que hay en esta lección. Let's go. It's the 12th of March. It's March 12th. It's my birthday. My birthday. When is your birthday? My birthday is on March 12th. When my birthday is on a weekday, that is on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, I work on my birthday. Usually, my family and I have a meeting, a reunion, a family gathering, and we eat some food such as cake. We take some drinks, we talk, and we take some photographs. When is your birthday? And what do you do on your birthday? Oh, I forgot to say that we also sing the happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. What do you do on your birthday? Do you sing the happy birthday? Do you have some cake? Do you eat other food? Do you drink something? Do you take photographs? Do you dance? It's January 1st, New Year's Day. It's New Year's Day. People have fireworks. People have fireworks exhibit on New Year's Day. Do you have fireworks on New Year's Day? People in Colombia normally have a family gathering, a family reunion on New Year's. They gather together to celebrate New Year's. How do you celebrate New Year's Day? Do you have a special food on New Year's Day? My family has some special food to eat on New Year's Day. What about you and your family? It's Colombian Independence Day. July 20th. July 20th, Colombian Independence Day. In Bogota and other capital cities, there is a parade with soldiers. They have a parade. People get out to the streets to watch the parades. Do you celebrate Independence Day in your country? How do you celebrate Independence Day? Bueno, el tema de esta lección es cómo algunos niños celebran Halloween. Primero vamos a leer la lección, después haremos algunos comentarios y también explicaré algunos títulos de cortesía que se presentan en esta lección. Y finalmente desarrollaremos las actividades. Let's get ahead. It is Halloween. Maria, Emily, and Luis go trick or treating. Look at Mr. Johnson's spider. Trick or treat, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for the treat, Mr. Johnson. Look at Mrs. Florio's ghost. Trick or treat, Mrs. Florio. Thank you for the treat, Mrs. Florio. Look at Miss White's pumpkin. Trick or treat, Miss White. Thank you for the treat, Miss White. Look at our black cat. Trick or treat, Abuela. Mama and Papa play a trick. Well, it is Halloween, October 31st. October 31st is the day when people celebrate Halloween. In this picture, we see Maria, Emily, and Luis. They celebrate Halloween. They are celebrating Halloween. They go trick or treating. Trick or treating. Esto es lo que los niños acá en Colombia hacen diciendo tricky tricky Halloween. Okay. Es una forma distorsionada de decir trick or treating. Trick or treat. Trick or treat on Halloween. Deberían decir trick or treat on Halloween. Trick or treat on Halloween. Something like that. So in this picture we can see that Maria, Emily, and Luis go trick or treating. Ellos van a las casas a trick or treat. They go trick or treating. Here they are at Mr. Johnson's house. This is Mr. Johnson's house. And one of them, Maria more exactly, is ringing the bell, calling Mr. Johnson to get out, and says, "Look at Mr. Johnson's spider." This is Mr. Johnson's spider. And they are waiting for Mr. Johnson to come out, and they will say, "Trick or treat, Mr. Johnson." Trick or treat, Mr. Johnson. Le dirán a Mr. Johnson, trick or treat. Mr. Johnson decidirá si trick or treat. Si él decide treat, debe darles un regalo. Puede ser algo para comer. De lo contrario, si decide trick, los muchachos pueden hacerle una maldad a Mr. Johnson o a la casa de Mr. Johnson. Veamos qué decide Mr. Johnson. Here you are. This is Mr. Johnson giving the kids some apples. And they say, "Thank you for the treat, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for the treat." Thank you es una manera formal de agradecer. Se podría decir, usando la forma informal, thanks. Thanks for the treat, Mr. Johnson. Ellos son formales y dicen, "Thank you for the treat, Mr. Johnson." Thanks for the treat, Mr. Johnson. Now they are at Mrs. Florio's house. And one says, "Look at Mrs. Florio's ghost." This is Mrs. Florio's ghost. From the photographs in this lesson, we can see that people decorate their houses on Halloween. Do you celebrate Halloween? Do you decorate your house on Halloween? Well, do you think Mrs. Florio is going to decide on a trick or a treat? What do you think? Here is Mrs. Florio. Mrs. Florio has decided on a treat. Here is the treat for the children. And they say, "Thank you for the treat, Mrs. Florio." Thank you for the treat, Mrs. Florio. Next, they go to Miss White's house. Miss White decorates her house with a pumpkin. Here is a Halloween pumpkin. And Maria, one more time, rings the bell, asking Miss White out for a trick or a treat. They will say, trick or treat, Miss White. Will Miss White play a trick or a treat? What do you think? Here is Miss White. She has a treat for the children. And they say, thank you for the treat, Miss White. Thanks for the treat, Miss White. Or thanks a lot for the treat, Miss White. Then they go to their own house. They decorated their house with a black cat. Here is a decorating black cat, a Halloween black cat, with which Maria, Emily, and Luis's family has decorated their house. Here in this photograph we see grandma, their grandmother, having some treat for them. They get some treat from their grandma. But Mama and Papa, that is their father and mother, or their daddy and mommy, do not give them any treat. They prefer to play a trick. They decide on a trick. They decide to play a trick on Maria, Emily, and Luis. And here we can see that Daddy is saying, "Boo!" para asustarlos. That's the trick. Antes de entrar en las actividades, ahora vamos a hablar de los títulos de cortesía. Títulos de cortesía que encontramos en esta lección. Y también de uno más que no está presente, pero que existe. El primero es Mr. para Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson. El segundo es Mrs. para Mrs. Florio. Mrs. Florio. El siguiente es para es Miss White para Miss White. Creo que es el último, pero existe otro que es Miss. Ahora quiero explicarles brevemente cómo se usa cada uno de ellos. Creo que todos ustedes saben que my name is Rodrigo Lazo Campo. My full name is Rodrigo Lazo Campo. Déjeme ponerlo en un texto. Here, this is my full name. My full name is Rodrigo Lazo Campo. Pero este full name se puede dividir en dos partes. First name, o también se puede llamar given name. Y la otra parte es last name, que puede llamarse también family name or surname. My first name or given name is Rodrigo. And my last name or my family name or my surname is Lazo Campo. Déjeme escribirlo. Aquí pueden verlo. My first name is Rodrigo. My last name is Lazo Campo. Pude también decir my given name is Rodrigo. My family name is Lazo Campo. Or my surname is Lazo Campo. Así, my full name is Rodrigo Lazo Campo. My first name is Rodrigo. My given name is Rodrigo. My last name is Lazo Campo. My family name is Lazo Campo. And my surname is Lazo Campo. Esto usted lo encuentra normalmente cuando debe llenar formularios. Encuentra estos encabezados. Si usted aprende esto ahora, no va a tener ninguna dificultad a la hora de llenar un formulario, por lo menos esta parte no les será dificultosa. Los titles of courtesy, los títulos de cortesía, se usan con los last names, family names or surnames, pero normalmente no se usan con los first name or given names. Por lo tanto, no es correcto decir Mr. Rodrigo, Mr. Juan, Mr. Peter, Mr. Robert, sino se dice Mr. Lazo Campo, Mr. Rodríguez, Mr. Pérez, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Martínez, Mr. Alvarado, Mr. Robertson, etc. Y Mr. debo aclarar que se usa para hombres. Right? Los títulos de cortesía Mrs., Miss and Miss son usados delante de los last names, family names and surnames de mujeres, cada uno para un determinado grupo de mujeres. Así, Mrs. es para married women, women who are married. Mrs. used before the last names of married women, women who have gone through the process of being married. And Miss is used before the family names or the last names or surnames of women who have never married, women who are unmarried, women who are still unmarried, women que nunca han estado married. Y finalmente, Miss se usa delante de los last names, family names or surnames de mujeres en las que no hacemos la distinción entre married or unmarried, ya sea porque no sabemos su estado marital o no queremos hacer la distinción. So, Miss is used when no distinction is made whether a woman is married or unmarried. Recuerde, siempre se usan delante de los family names, last names or surnames. Miss Gutiérrez, Mrs. Ramírez, and Miss Flores. Well, dear students, now we are turning to the activities. Well, here we go with the activities in lesson 117. There are 3 activities, and this is number 1. Activity number 1 is about identifying the characters and the setting in the story in the lesson. Remember, the title of the story is Maria's Halloween. So we are supposed to identify the characters and the setting. The characters are the persons, the people who participate, who take part in the story. And the setting is something different. The setting is information about the time, maybe the time in history or the time of the year in which the lesson occurs. Also, the place where the lesson occurs and the circumstances in which the lesson occurs, in which the story occurs. So, we're going to start with identifying the characters. Do you remember the characters in this lesson? Well, there is Maria, Emily, Luis, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Florio, Miss White, Abuela, Mama, and Papa. Voy a escribirlos, usted también escríbalos. As I said before, the title of the story, the title of the lesson is Maria's Halloween. And the characters in it are Maria, Emily, Luis, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Florio, Miss White, Abuela, Mama, and Papa. Now let's turn for the setting. The story occurs on Halloween in the houses of Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Florio, Miss White, and Maria, Emily, and Luis. Emily, Maria, and Luis live with their abuela, papa, and mama. Maria, Emily, and Luis go trick-or-treating. They get some treat from Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Florio, Miss White, and Abuela, and they get a trick from Papa and Mama. These are the circumstances in the story. Ahora podremos recapitular la historia. Trate de reconstruirla con esta información. Yo voy a hacer lo mismo y luego compartimos nuestras versiones. Maria, Emily, and Luis live with Abuela, Mama, and Papa. It is Halloween on the 31st of October. They are celebrating. They go to Mr. Johnson's house, Mrs. Florio's house, Miss White's house, and their own house. They decorate their houses with a spider, a ghost, a pumpkin, and a black cat. The children get a treat from Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Florio, Miss White, and Abuela. But Papa and Mama play a trick on them. It is a nice celebration for the kids. This is activity number 2, and it is about words that begin with the TR sound. Words beginning with the TR sound. Here are some pictures beginning with a truck, the picture of a truck, the photograph of a truck beginning with TR sound. Here is a train. This is a brush, a floor brush. This is a tree. Here is a girl. This is a trumpet. And this is a tiger. You can see some of the words naming these pictures begin with the TR sound. Then I'm going to write the TR on this line in the middle under the pictures whose names begin with the TR sound. And then we are going to make a sentence or 2 sentences. One sentence about words beginning with the TR sound and words that do not begin with the TR sound. Let's go. Here we are. Truck begins in TR sound. Train begins in TR sound. Brush does not begin in TR sound. Tree begins in TR sound. Girl does not begin in TR sound. Trumpet begins in TR sound. And tiger does not begin in TR sound. Escribamos los enunciados. Truck, train, tree, and trumpet begin in TR sound, But, brush, girl, and tiger do not begin in TR sound. Now we are moving on to activity 3. This is activity 3 and last. There are 4 photographs on the page, and in the photographs you can see some of the characters in the story. Who is each? Who is this? Is this Papa? Who is this? Is this Abuela? Who's this? Who's this? He formulado la pregunta que debemos hacer para identificar a alguien a quien desconocemos. Who's this? Who's this? Repítalo usted. Who's this? Who's this? Who's this? Who's this? Who's this? Ahora vamos a escribir sus nombres, teniendo en cuenta que las letras iniciales deben ser escritas con capital. We have to write initial capital letters. Initial capital letters. Hagámoslo. Here are the names identifying each person in the lesson. This is Mr. Johnson. This is Mrs. Florio. This is Miss White. And this is Abuela. Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Florio, Miss White, and Abuela. Okay, dear students, this is all about lesson 117. It's been really nice working with you, talking with you, and it'll be a pleasure to be with you next time. Remember, suscríbanse en nuestro canal de YouTube, denle like a los videos que les gusten y compártanlo con otras personas que estén interesadas en aprender inglés, al igual que ustedes. Nos veremos en la próxima ocasión. Hasta pronto.